Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, I can't drive anywhere without permission? Okay, I'll follow that rule. Maliciously. Make me stay home so I can water all the plants? Fine, I will water all the plants. You hate my clothes? Have fun wearing them. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I can't drive anywhere without permission? Okay, I'll follow that rule. Maliciously. This happened when I was 16 years old and just got my driver's license. My parents had me run to the store to pick up some groceries. I stopped by my friend's house on the way back home for maybe 5 minutes to show him I got my license and I was out driving alone. It was a really fun moment in the life of a 16-year-old. My stepmom Mary and freaked out. We did not give you permission to drive to Bill's house. We told you to go to the store, and that is all. I told Mary and my dad that they had let me drive to Matt's house the day before, so I didn't think it was a big deal. They went unreasonable and laid down the unbendable rule that set up the malicious compliance. You are not allowed to drive anywhere we do not give explicit permission for you to drive. Period. End of sentence. Just because you were allowed to do it previously does not ever give you permission another time. Ever. Fast forward 3 days later. My 13-year-old stepsister has been a jerk to me all day, and I'm sick of her BS. She goes quiet for about 30 minutes and then comes out all sticky sweet. Hey Brian, it's time to take me to ballet. I have taken her to ballet 3 days a week since I got my license. It's basically one of my chores. But I see my opportunity to say screw you to all 3 of them at once. Sorry, Tina. I'm not allowed to take you to ballet. The parents didn't tell me to take you, and I don't want to get in trouble. She screams, she cries, she begs, she threatens. She calls her mom and leaves a message. She calls my dad and leaves a message. Just like Steve Miller says, time keeps on slipping into the future. I'm not sure I'm brave enough to hang onto the bitter end and actually go through with it. I'm shaking, but I know I've got them dead to rights. No call back from the parents, and the clock goes on past the start of her class. Stepmom comes home and Tina runs to meet her. Tina, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at ballet. I hear Tina tell her rendition of the story, leaving out how miserable she had been, and they go back and forth. Mary comes pounding down the hall and yells, as God is my witness, you just wait till your father gets home. I had to stifle a laugh because I never really believed people actually said that. An hour later, Dad comes home, and the 2 of them go running out to meet him and tell him how horrible I was. I wait in my room for the hammer to fall. About 10 minutes later, my dad calls down the hall, Brian, would you please come here and talk to us? Well, Brian, you did it. What do you mean, Dad? You got us all, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. Okay, let's make this reasonable for everyone. And they did. They agreed that they were over the top. They recognized that Tina isn't always very nice to me, and they spoke to her about that. I was allowed to have reasonable freedom if I was driving somewhere, since I had good grades and had never been in trouble. I walked down the hall back to my room, back to my parents, with the world's biggest grin on my face. Oh, that's perfect. At least the dad recognized he messed up. I was kind of hoping the story was that they specifically told you to go to the store but didn't specify that you were to come back home. So you sat in the store parking lot for hours. That sounds like the escalation, the logical next step. Well, that was not the ending I was expecting as I started reading your story. I'm glad your dad and stepmother saw your quite reasonable, I think, point of view. Sounds like your dad had your back, too. As a dad myself, he probably got a kick out of it and was proud more than anything. Yes, glad your dad recognized you got them good, and instead of blowing up / being punitive, he realized they had been unreasonable and adapted. Good job on your dad. Man, when my stepmother said, just wait until your father gets home, it never ended well for me. I'm glad he saw the real issue and understood what you were doing. That's some solid parenting there. Same. She would lie or twist the facts, and he always chose her side, so I got beaten and grounded a lot. Sounds like they laid down the law out of reactive fear for you. It's scary when your kid becomes old enough to drive, and your dad later understood that that wasn't the way to do it. They should have figured all that out before you got your license. I think you handled it great, and so did your dad. Make me stay home so I can water all the plants? Fine, I will water all the plants. I don't remember the exact circumstances now because this was back when I was a resentful, hormonal teenager half a century or so ago. I'm old. I think my mother was going shopping, and I wanted to go with her, but she told me I had to stay home and do chores, including watering all the plants. I apparently didn't immediately react in a polite enough manner, so she reiterated in a louder voice, "You need to water all the plants." So I did, including her precious roses in the backyard. In the middle of winter, when she got home and let the dog out and noticed water-related evidence in the backyard that should not have been there, she started shrieking at me. What did I do? How could I be so stupid? Was I trying to kill her roses, etc.? And I just looked her straight in the eye and said, "Well, you did tell me to water all the plants." And no, the roses did not die because it didn't get cold enough that night. And then she got on the rotary telephone and called at least 3 of her friends to complain about what you did. She was and still is extraordinarily private, a never air your dirty laundry in public type person, but honestly I think mainly because she's needed people to see her as being the best, the smartest, etc., so there can't be any cracks in that facade. Why would watered roses die? It rains then freezes in the UK all winter. As a gardener with lots of roses, I'm pretty confused by the assumption that watering a rose in the winter would kill it. Rain and snow happens. The roses are fine. I live in a cold climate and many roses aren't hardy enough. If Opie's roses weren't hardy enough and Opie became the god of weather and dropped the temperature to well below freezing for a couple weeks, then there could be a problem. But a little water isn't going to hurt a plant used to growing outside. I expected you to flood a couple artificial plants. Some of y'all kill me. Like when you were a hormonal teenager, you never did one petty thing. I doubt it. You hate my clothes? Have fun wearing them. Growing up, I've always liked Germany and Japan, especially the cars. My favorites are Porsche and Lexus, and my mom's ex-husband wasn't into cars. He hated just about every piece of clothing I owned. I have mostly Adidas stuff and a few shirts and hoodies with Porsches and Lexuses on them. So one day, when I'm getting ready for my first day of school after the pandemic, mom's ex-husband, who I'll call Keith, not his actual name, but his actual name is so bad it might as well be Keith, stops me and looks at me dead serious and says, "I want you to take off those ragged pieces of shit and throw them in the trash along with any clothes you have in the washer." I looked at him, laughed, and walked out the door. I thought I looked pretty good that day, and it was made me really happy seeing my friends really hadn't changed since March. Then when I got home, Keith was stuffing all of the clothes from washer into a trash bag. I asked what he was doing and he said, "I'm tired of you trying to present as rich. Take this bag out to the trash and don't take anything out of it." I looked at him and I kept repeating how he can't be serious. He said he was dead serious and went into my parents' room. I decided to see how much of my clothes I was going to lose, and to my surprise, it was just some socks, a pair of jeans, and 2 shirts. I was about to take them out when I noticed Keith threw his clothes in there too. He's a stereotypical stepdad and doesn't do anything, so there's no way he would have known my mom washed his clothes with mine. Then I took a moment to check some receipts in my room to see how much I'd be set back if I actually put this bag in the trash, and I figured out it'd be around $40. Not much of an issue there. So this is when the malicious compliance kicks in. I took the bag to the trash can and set it at the end of the driveway for trash day tomorrow. It comes at 6. So imagine Keith's surprise when he gets up at 6 to find that he has no clean work shirts, no clean socks, and no clean pants. It made him absolutely livid, and he quite literally yanked me out of bed to scream at me. He pinned me to the wall and yelled about how his clothes were missing, and I told him, "Your clothes were in that bag, and had you been paying attention, you wouldn't be in this situation." He just got up and walked away, struggling to find anything to wear. He eventually came back and very calmly asked to borrow a shirt and pants from me along with socks and a sweatshirt. I then proceeded to hand him each of the clothes he asked, but they were ones I didn't like and didn't wear often. He spent the whole day posting on Facebook and Instagram about how bad he looked, and it was so funny that I couldn't put my phone down. In case you aren't aware or have never considered this, Keith is abusive. I am seeing lots of abuser red flags for him, and also some abuse survivor flags from you. I am fully aware he was abusive, and it still haunts me that he got away with most of the shit he did. I'm doing better now, kind of, but he's living a really shitty life now, so I'm calling it even. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.